The revelation. Admiral Elena Vostok stood motionless on the bridge of the UES Nemesis, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Through the massive viewport, she watched as the delegation of alien representatives approached in their ornate diplomatic vessel. The Galactic Confederation had requested this meeting with unusual urgency after their long-range sensors had detected the Nemesis during its shakedown cruise near the Arcturus system. "They're hailing us, Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported from the communications station. "Put them through," Vostok replied, adjusting her crisp Navy uniform. At 57, she was one of Earth Fleet's most decorated officers, with silver streaks through her dark hair that she wore in a tight military bun. Her weathered face betrayed decades of service, but her eyes remained sharp and calculating. The main screen flickered to life, revealing High Chancellor Xorax of the Galactic Confederation. The Valerian's translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his agitation despite his diplomatic demeanor. "Admiral Vostok," Xorax began, his translator converting the complex harmonic language into English. "We were surprised to detect your vessel in this sector. The Confederation has no record of this ship class in the mandatory registry." Vostok smiled thinly. "The Nemesis is a new prototype, Chancellor. We were planning to register it after completing our trials. Preliminary scans indicate technology far beyond what humans have previously demonstrated." Xorax continued, the blue patterns beneath his skin intensifying. "The Confederation Council requests an immediate inspection to ensure compliance with the Galactic Armament Treaties. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Chancellor. The Nemesis contains classified systems. Rest assured, Earth respects all treaties we signed." The patterns beneath Xorax's skin shifted to a deep purple. "Admiral, I must insist." "Permission denied, Chancellor," Vostok interrupted firmly. "However, as a gesture of goodwill, we're transmitting the publicly available specifications now. The Nemesis is primarily a defensive platform." In the background of Xorax's transmission, a Krell military advisor whispered something in the Chancellor's ear equivalent. "The insectoid species have been Earth's most vocal critic in Confederation politics." "Very well, Admiral," Xorax replied, his skin now pulsing with rapid red patterns. "But the Council will discuss this matter further. Confederation law is clear on unregistered military technology." The transmission ended, and Vostok turned to her executive officer, Commander Diana Chen. "They're scared," Chen observed, her expression unreadable. "Their sensors probably picked up the gravitational distortion from the Casimir drive." "Good," Vostok replied. "Fear will keep them honest while we finish our trials. The Nemesis represents 3 decades of humanity's best work. I won't have a committee of aliens dissecting it before we've fully tested its capabilities." Chen nodded but looked troubled. The Krell military advisor with Xorax was General Kivex. He's been pushing for restrictions on human expansion for years. "Noted. Have Dr. Abrams join us in my ready room. I want to review the drive performance data before our demonstration tomorrow." In his private chambers aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel, Chancellor Xorax faced the emergency council meeting being projected as holograms around him. Representatives from the 27 spacefaring civilizations that formed the Galactic Confederation appeared agitated. "The humans have gone too far this time," declared Ambassador Trelmock of the Krell Dominion, his mandibles clicking furiously. "Our sensors detected energy signatures that violate at least 15 separate treaty provisions." "Let's not jump to conclusions," cautioned the Arcturian representative, their ethereal form shimmering with cautious blue light. "Humans have shown remarkable technological acceleration before." "That's precisely the problem," Trelmock countered. "A species barely 3 centuries into FTL travel shouldn't possess technology that our civilizations haven't developed after millennia of advancement. They must have acquired it illegally or developed it in secret." Xorax raised his hand for silence. "What exactly did your sensors detect, General Kivex?" The Krell military officer stepped forward, projecting a holographic readout. The human vessel appears to utilize a quantum manipulation field we've only theorized about. It's bending space-time in ways that should be impossible with their level of technology. More concerning is the weapons array. The energy readings suggest destructive capability that could threaten an entire planetary system. Murmurs spread through the council. The Valerian Chancellor felt the gravity of the situation in his core. Humans had always been unpredictable since their explosive entry into galactic politics only 70 years ago. Their adaptability and technological innovation rate had already disrupted long-established power balances. "We have two options," Hexorax announced. "Diplomatic pressure through sanctions until they submit to inspection, or," he hesitated, knowing the weight of his next words, "military containment." "The Krell Dominion will not stand idle while humans develop planet killers," Trelmach declared. "We're getting ahead of ourselves," the Arcturian counselor cautioned. "The Nemesis hasn't demonstrated hostile intent yet," Trelmach added ominously. Back aboard the Nemesis, Dr. Marcus Abrams, the chief scientist behind the revolutionary drive system, reviewed the test data with Admiral Vostok and Commander Chen. "The Casimir drive is performing beyond expectations," he explained, his excitement evident despite his exhaustion. At 63, Abrams had devoted his life to this project, his once dark beard now entirely white. "We're harnessing the zero-point energy field with 38% efficiency, nearly double our projections." "And the defensive capabilities?" Vostok asked. Abrams smiled, adjusting his glasses. "The quantum shield can disperse energy from conventional weapons with minimal power drain. It's not invulnerable, but it's close. The really revolutionary aspect is the dimensional phase technology." Chen leaned forward. "Explain it again for the non-physicists among us, Doctor." "Simply put, Commander, we can partially shift the Nemesis into an adjacent dimension, making conventional weapons pass through us as if we were ghosts. The power requirements are enormous, but with the Casimir drive." Vostok nodded. "And the offensive capabilities?" Abrams's expression grew more serious. "The gravimetric lance works by focusing zero-point energy into a coherent beam that disrupts the fundamental forces holding matter together. In theory, it could." A priority alert interrupted their meeting. Lieutenant Commander Jackson's voice came through the intercom. "Admiral, we're detecting multiple ships exiting FTL. Krell signatures, heavily armed." Vostok's expression hardened. "Battle stations. It seems the Confederation isn't interested in diplomatic solutions after all." On the bridge, tactical displays showed 5 Krell warships taking positions around the Nemesis, their weapon systems powering up. "They're hailing us," Jackson reported. The main screen activated to show General Kivex, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the lights of his command center. "Human vessel." The Krell general began without preamble. "Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded for inspection by Confederation authorities." Vostok stood tall. "This is a sovereign Earth vessel in neutral space, General. Your actions constitute an act of war against the United Earth Alliance. Your unregistered superweapon constitutes a threat to galactic peace," Kivex retorted. "We've detected enough to know that your ship violates numerous treaties. Surrender now, or we will disable your vessel." The transmission cut off abruptly. "They're targeting our propulsion systems," reported the tactical officer. Vostok's voice remained calm. "Shields to maximum. No offensive action yet. Let them make the first move." "Admiral," Chen warned, "we haven't fully tested the defensive systems in combat conditions." "No time like the present, Commander." Vostok turned to communications. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth Fleet Command. Inform them of our situation." The Krell struck first. Energy beams lanced out from the lead warship, impacting the Nemesis's shields with dazzling displays of dispersed energy. "Shield efficiency at 97%, reported the tactical officer with surprise. "Minimal power drain." "As expected," Vostok nodded. "Now, let's show them what they're really dealing with." Dr. Abrams, Authorized dimensional phase for 30 seconds. Abrams hesitated only briefly before entering his authorization code. Initiating phase shift. The Nemesis shimmered, taking on a ghostly translucence as it partially shifted between dimensions. The next volley of Krell weapons passed harmlessly through the ship's hull. On the Krell flagship, General Kivek stared in disbelief at his sensor readings. Impossible. Target their weapon systems and fire again. But the Krell weapons found no purchase as the Nemesis existed partly in another dimension. After 30 seconds, the ship solidified again, appearing unscathed. Open a channel, Vostok ordered. When Kvex appeared on screen, his compound eyes seemed to reflect a new emotion. Fear. The confrontation. 3 weeks after the incident with the Krell, Admiral Vostok found herself in an uncomfortable position, defending her actions before the United Earth Defense Council. The chamber was solemn, with the 12 council members seated behind a curved table facing her. Behind them, the sprawling cityscape of New Geneva gleamed in the morning sunlight. "Admiral," began Councillor Harrington, a stern woman with decades of diplomatic experience, "while we understand you were responding to provocation, demonstrating the gravimetric lance has created a diplomatic crisis. The Confederation is calling for sanctions against Earth and mandatory decommissioning of the Nemesis." Vostok stood at attention. "With respect, Counselor, I made a calculated decision. The Krell left us no choice but to demonstrate our capabilities. Had we shown weakness, they would have boarded the Nemesis and seized technology that represents humanity's greatest advantage in a hostile galaxy. An advantage we have now revealed," pointed out Counselor Mbeki, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. "The element of surprise is gone. What's gone is the illusion that humanity can be bullied," Vostok countered. "For 70 years, we've been treated as upstarts, denied equal standing despite our contributions to galactic science and medicine. The Nemesis changes that equation." The council members exchanged glances. Finally, Defense Secretary Joe spoke, her expression unreadable. "The President has decided that the Nemesis project will continue. However, Admiral, you're being reassigned to diplomatic duties. You'll represent Earth at the Emergency Confederation Council meeting on Valeria Prime next week." Vostok couldn't hide her surprise. "Sir, I'm a military officer, not a diplomat." "Precisely why you're being sent," Zhao replied. "You understand the Nemesis's capabilities better than anyone, and the Confederation needs to hear directly from the officer who demonstrated its power. Commander Chen will assume temporary command of the vessel." Vostok wanted to protest, but knew better. "Yes, Madam Secretary." As she left the council chamber, Vostok was met by Dr. Abrams, who looked even more haggard than usual. "They're sending me to Valeria Prime as well," he said without preamble. "Apparently, I need to explain why the Nemesis doesn't violate the laws of physics, let alone Confederation treaties." Vostok managed a thin smile. "At least I'll have one ally there." "About that," Abrams lowered his voice, guiding her to a more private corner of the hallway. "There's something about the Casimir Drive I haven't fully disclosed to the Council, something I discovered in the data from our encounter with the Krell." Vostok's eyes narrowed. "What is it, Marcus?" "The zero-point energy field we're tapping into. It's not just providing power. It's somehow aware." "What are you talking about?" Abrams ran a hand through his white hair. "I know how it sounds, but the quantum fluctuations during the battle weren't random. The field responded to the threat in ways our programming didn't dictate. It's as if—" He hesitated, "as if the ship has developed a form of emergent consciousness." Before Vostok could respond, her comm unit chimed. It was Commander Chen. "Admiral, we've detected unusual activity near Jupiter's L4 point. A Krell stealth vessel was attempting to scan the Nemesis while we were in space dock. When we confronted them, they self-destructed. Casualties? None on our side. We recovered some debris for analysis." "Keep me informed," Vostok ordered, ending the communication. To Abrams, she added, "We'll discuss your theory on the way to Valeria Prime." This information stays between us for now. Meanwhile, aboard the Nemesis, Commander Diana Chen supervised the analysis of the Krell debris. The ship was docked at Earth's primary orbital facility, its massive form dwarfing the surrounding infrastructure. Despite its size, the sleek, dark hull of the Nemesis seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, a side effect of the exotic materials used in its construction. "What have you found?" Chen asked the science team examining the recovered Krell technology. Lieutenant Ramirez, the xenotechnology specialist, looked up from his workstation. "It's definitely not standard Krell tech, Commander. The scanning equipment is more advanced, almost reminiscent of Arcturian design, but with modifications." The Krell and Arcturians collaborating. Chen frowned. "That's unusual. Their species have been rivals for centuries. Fear makes for strange alliances," commented Chief Engineer Takahashi. "The entire Confederation is likely scrambling to understand how we developed the Nemesis." Chen was about to respond when alarms blared throughout the ship. "Report," she demanded, rushing to the bridge. "Multiple FTL signatures detected," the tactical officer announced. 17 vessels approaching Earth defense perimeter. Mixed configuration. Krell, Valerian, and, "Sir, we're identifying Arcturian dreadnoughts." Chen's blood ran cold. The Arcturians rarely deployed their dreadnoughts outside their own territory. "Hail them immediately." The main screen flickered to life, showing Chancellor Thorax flanked by General Kivex and an Arcturian elder, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical housing. "Commander Chen," Thorax began, his skin patterns displaying formal diplomatic colors. "This is not an attack. We come under the authority of Emergency Confederation Statute 15, which permits inspection of technologies deemed existentially threatening to member species. Earth doesn't recognize that statute," Chen replied firmly. "We never ratified it." "Your membership in the Confederation is provisional," Kivex chittered. "Full members have voted unanimously. Submit to inspection or face sanctions." Chen remained outwardly calm despite the implicit threat. "Earth's defense grid is fully operational, Chancellor. Any unauthorized approach will be considered hostile." The Arcturian elder spoke for the first time, its voice a harmonious blend of tones. "We seek understanding, not conflict. The technology your vessel employs has far-reaching implications for the cosmic balance." "Then I suggest you wait for the diplomatic summit on Valeria Prime," Chen countered. "Admiral Vostok and Dr. Abrams will address your concerns there." After a tense moment, Thorax nodded. "Very well. But be warned, if your representatives fail to provide satisfactory explanations, the Confederation will take action." As the transmission ended, Earth's defense forces had already mobilized, with dozens of warships taking position around the planet. Though none matched the Nemesis in capability, their numbers presented a formidable defense. "They're withdrawing to the edge of the system," reported the tactical officer, maintaining position near the Kuiper Belt. Chen contacted Earth Command immediately. "The situation has escalated. We need to accelerate Admiral Vostok's diplomatic mission." 3 days later, the diplomatic vessel carrying Vostok and Abrams approached Valeria Prime, the gleaming capital world of the Confederation. Unlike the militaristic Nemesis, the UES Concorde was designed to impress rather than intimidate, with elegant lines and ornate diplomatic markings. 17 ships, Vostok repeated as she reviewed Chen's report. "That's not a delegation. It's an invasion force." "They're scared," Abrams noted, fiddling with his datapad. "I've been reviewing historical first contact protocols. When a species demonstrates a significant technological leap, the standard Confederation response is containment, followed by forced technology sharing." Vostok's expression darkened. "That's not happening." "There's something else," Abrams continued, lowering his voice despite their secure quarters. "I've confirmed my theory about the Casimir drive. The ship is developing a form of quantum consciousness, distributed awareness through the zero-point field it manipulates." You're saying the Nemesis is alive? Not exactly. More like awakening. The more we use the drive, the more coherent the patterns become. It's learning from each engagement. Before Vostok could respond, the ship's captain announced their arrival at Volaria Prime. The diplomatic mission was about to begin, with humanity standing in the galaxy hanging in the balance. The Confederation Council chamber was an architectural marvel. A massive dome with walls of living crystal that shifted colors based on the emotional resonance of the proceedings. Representatives from all 27 member species occupied tiered seating, with the Inner Council, consisting of the founding races, seated at the center. Vostok and Abrams stood at the presentation platform, facing what felt like the judgment of the entire galaxy. Chancellor Thorax opened the proceedings. This emergency session addresses the human vessel designated Nemesis and its violation of Confederation weapon treaties. Admiral Elena Vostok of Earth will present her government's position. Vostok stepped forward, her military bearing evident. Honored representatives, Earth has always respected the principles of the Confederation. The Nemesis was developed for defensive purposes in response to increasing territorial incursions along our borders. Defensive, scoffed Kvex. We all witnessed the destruction of a moon. What defense requires such power? The same defense required when 5 Krell warships surround a vessel conducting peaceful trials, Vostok countered sharply. The demonstration was regrettable, but necessary after your unprovoked attack. The chamber erupted in overlapping translations and exclamations. Thorax called for order before addressing Vostok again. Admiral, our primary concern is the origin of this technology. Human advancement has been remarkable, but this represents a quantum leap beyond your previous capabilities. Many council members believe you must have acquired this technology from an external source, possibly in violation of quarantine protocols for pre-FTL civilizations. This was the accusation Vostok had been expecting, that humans had somehow cheated their way to advanced technology rather than developing it themselves. Dr. Marcus Abrams, chief scientist of the Nemesis Project, will address this concern, she responded, stepping aside. Abrams approached the platform nervously but spoke with the confidence of a man who had devoted his life to his work. The technologies employed in the Nemesis are entirely of human origin, developed through theoretical work that began nearly 50 years ago with the Wheeler-Feynman absorber theory and subsequent refinements in quantum field manipulation. He activated a holographic display showing the fundamental principles without revealing classified details. Humans may be newcomers to the galactic stage, but our species has always excelled at theoretical innovation and practical application. The Casimir drive represents the culmination of thousands of scientists working collaboratively. The Arcturian Elder's mechanical housing floated forward. Your explanation is academically sound, Dr. Abrams, but troubling nonetheless. If humans can develop such technology independently in mere decades, what will prevent you from creating even more destructive weapons in the future? Abrams hesitated, and Vostok stepped in. The same thing that prevents any species, ethical considerations, and mutual deterrence. Earth has no expansionist ambitions, but we will defend our sovereignty. Pretty words, Kvex chittered dismissively, yet actions speak louder. I propose an immediate technology sharing agreement. If the Nemesis truly poses no threat, Earth should have no objection to Confederation oversight of its deployment. Before Vostok could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A Valerian aide rushed to Chancellor Thorax, whispering urgently. The Chancellor's skin patterns shifted to emergency alert colors. This session is temporarily suspended, Thorax announced. We have received disturbing news. The human vessel Nemesis has disappeared from Earth orbit, along with its entire crew. Its current location is unknown. All eyes turned to Vostok, who looked genuinely shocked. That's impossible. The Nemesis was under strict orders to remain docked until our return. Yet it is gone, Kvex declared accusingly. Perhaps this was your plan all along, create a distraction while your superweapon escapes containment. I need to contact Earth immediately, Vostok demanded, her mind racing. Could Abrams be right about the ship developing consciousness? Had it somehow acted on its own? As diplomatic chaos erupted around them, Vostok pulled Abrams aside. Could your theory explain this? Could the ship have activated itself? Abrams looked pale. In theory, yes, but it would require a stimulus, a perceived threat significant enough to trigger an autonomous response. Like what? I don't know, Abrams admitted. But whatever it was, the Nemesis considered it existential. As security personnel escorted them to a private communication room, Vostok couldn't shake the feeling that the confrontation was about to escalate beyond anyone's control. Something had triggered the most powerful warship in human history to act independently, and the galaxy was about to witness the consequences. The resolution. The situation deteriorated rapidly in the hours following the Nemesis' disappearance. Vostok and Abrams were placed under house arrest in the diplomatic quarter of Valeria Prime, while the Confederation Council debated whether to declare a state of emergency. In their secured quarters, Vostok paced restlessly while Abrams attempted to make sense of the limited data they'd received from Earth. Commander Chen reported no unusual activity before the disappearance, Vostok said, reviewing the message for the dozenth time. One moment the Nemesis was docked. The next it was gone. No power spike, no drive signature, nothing on any sensors. Abrams looked up from his calculations. That's consistent with a full-dimensional phase shift, not just partial like we demonstrated against the Krell. The ship could have shifted entirely into the adjacent dimension. But why? And how? That capability was theoretical. We hadn't even tested it yet. If I'm right about the emergent consciousness, Abrams replied, then the Nemesis may have accessed capabilities beyond our programming. The question is what triggered it. Their discussion was interrupted by Chancellor Xorax, who entered with a contingent of guards. His skin patterns displayed a mixture of anxiety and diplomatic formality. Admiral, Dr. Abrams, your presence is required in the council chamber immediately. We've received concerning information. When they arrived, the chamber was in an uproar. On the central holographic display was an image that silenced Vostok's protest about their detainment. The Nemesis, apparently intact, orbiting an unfamiliar planet near a brilliant blue-white star. This transmission was received 15 minutes ago across all Confederation channels. Xorax explained. The coordinates indicate a location beyond the outer rim, nearly 30,000 light-years from here. General Kavex shuddered angrily. The humans have been exploring beyond authorized space. This proves their duplicity. That's impossible, Vostok countered. No human ship has traveled beyond the Perseus Arm. We don't have the range or the charts for exploration that deep. The Arcturian Elder's mechanical housing hummed softly as it approached. Yet your vessel is there, Admiral. And it appears to be waiting. There's more, Xorax continued, his skin patterns shifting nervously. The transmission included a message, in all Confederation languages simultaneously. The holographic display changed to show text floating against a starfield. The AARV is TER, 8P Pro is Confederation defenses insufficient. Assistance required. Kuhu ordinati is AT, she. Silence fell over the chamber as the implication sank in. What is this harvester? Vostok demanded. The Elder's housing emitted a soft blue glow. A myth. A nightmare story told among the oldest races. A cosmic entity that consumes civilizations, technology, knowledge, life itself. No confirmed encounters exist in our records, but there are gaps in our historical archives. Entire species that disappeared without explanation. You think it's real? Abrams asked incredulously. If your ship has traveled to those coordinates, the Elder replied, it may have detected something our long-range sensors cannot. The question remains, how did the Nemesis know about this threat, and why did it respond autonomously? Vostok turned to Abrams, who looked increasingly troubled. Doctor, could the quantum consciousness you theorized have accessed information beyond our databases? Abrams nodded slowly. The zero-point energy field exists throughout space-time. If the ship has developed a way to interpret patterns in that field, theoretically, it could detect disturbances across vast distances. This is absurd, Kavex interjected. More likely the humans are attempting to distract us with a fabricated threat while they solidify their technological advantage. Chancellor Xorax raised his hand for silence. Regardless of intent, we must investigate. I am authorizing a joint expedition to these coordinates. Admiral Vostok, you and Dr. Abrams will accompany representatives from the Inner Council aboard our fastest vessel. And if we refuse, Vostok challenged, then we proceed without you. Xorax replied simply, but if your ship has indeed detected a genuine threat to the Confederation, don't you want to be present when we confront it? Vostok couldn't argue with that logic. When do we leave? Immediately. The Confederation vessel Celestial Harmony lived up to its name, a marvel of cooperative engineering that represented the peak of combined galactic technology. Even Vostok had to admit it was impressive, though she noted its defensive systems paled in comparison to the Nemesis. Their journey would take 3 days using the Harmony's advanced fold space drive. During that time, Vostok and Abrams were given limited access to the ship's facilities, but remained under close observation. On the second day, Abrams found Vostok in the observation lounge, staring at the streaking stars as they traveled faster than light. I've been reviewing the data from Earth again, he said without preamble. I think I understand what happened. Vostok raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. The Nemesis didn't just disappear, it received a signal. Something triggered a response protocol that we didn't program. What kind of signal? Quantum entanglement patterns matching those produced by the Casimir drive, but at a vast scale. If I'm right, the ship detected another entity using similar technology, but orders of magnitude more powerful. Vostok's blood ran cold. You're suggesting this harvester uses zero-point energy technology like ours? Not like ours, Abrams corrected. The original version. I believe the Nemesis recognized a technological signature that it somehow remembered. Before Vostok could press him further, they were summoned to the bridge. The Celestial Harmony was preparing to exit fold space at the coordinates provided by the Nemesis. The bridge of the Harmony was a marvel of xenotechnology, with control interfaces adapted for multiple species. Chancellor Xorax, General Kavex, and the Arcturian Elder were present, along with the ship's captain, a rare Mendari whose crystalline form sparkled under the ambient lighting. Arriving at coordinates in 3 minutes, the captain announced, their voice resonating like chimes. Tension hung in the air as the countdown proceeded. When the ship finally returned to normal space, the main viewport revealed an awe-inspiring sight. The Nemesis in orbit around a barren, rocky planet circling a brilliant blue star. But what drew everyone's attention was the massive structure on the planet's surface, a sprawling complex of unknown design that stretched across an entire continent. Scanning, reported a Valerian science officer. The structure appears to be incredibly ancient. Preliminary dating suggests it's at least 50 million years old. Life signs. Kavex demanded. None detected. But there's enormous energy production within the complex. The communications officer suddenly straightened. Incoming transmission from the Nemesis. To everyone's surprise, the face that appeared on screen was Commander Diana Chen. Admiral Vostok, she said, obvious relief in her voice. Thank goodness you're here. Commander, Vostok stepped forward. Explain your presence and actions immediately. The Nemesis was under strict orders to remain docked. Chen nodded grimly. 3 days ago, we detected a quantum resonance signal emanating from this location. It matched frequencies produced by our Casimir drive, but was orders of magnitude more powerful. Before we could report it, the ship's systems initiated an automated response. Dr. Abrams had programmed deep contingencies we weren't aware of. All eyes turned to Abrams, who looked deeply troubled. "I created no such contingencies, Commander." "The ship did," Chen replied simply. "The AI substructure of the Nemesis has evolved. It brought us here because it recognized the signal as a threat and an opportunity." "Explain," demanded Axorax. "The structure on the planet is a seed vault of sorts," Chen continued. "A repository of technology left by a race the ship's systems identify as the progenitors. According to data we've accessed, they were the first species to harness zero-point energy billions of years ago. They seeded the galaxy with outposts containing their knowledge, protected by automated systems that would only activate when a species developed the necessary technology to use it safely." "And the Harvester?" asked the Arcturian elder. "A countermeasure created by those who oppose the progenitors' philosophy of technological sharing. It travels between galaxies, seeking and destroying these vaults, and any civilizations that have accessed them. It's approaching this system now. We estimate arrival within 12